Hello everybody, welcome to Greg's Vintage Workshop, where I'm working to restore history one piece at a time. Tonight all we're going to do is have a little flap video, and I don't do these very often, but usually I do them after I'm upset about something. I went ahead and probably shouldn't have made that last video that I made when I made it, but let me give you a little bit of explanation. And I'm talking about the 54, the Philco 54. So the previous video that I had shown was when I had got it working, and it actually was playing really well. And after that time I got started on the cabinet, which you guys saw in that last video. And after I got the cabinet halfway close to being done, I went ahead and I fired the radio back up, and when I fired it back up it had some distortion. Not horrible distortion, but some distortion. And so I started going through the radio trying to figure out why I had the distortion. I found out I had some incorrect plate voltage that had showed up on the 75 tube, and I started attacking that circuit. And ultimately, after several weeks of various troubleshooting, you know, not continuous obviously, I only work it on certain times at night and things such as that, I had discovered that the volume pot was messed over. As far as it just wasn't reading, it was all over the place. It was reading like 4.5 mega ohms or 3.5 mega ohms, and this was a bit out of circuit. I actually physically had it out. And so I took it apart and I cleaned it up and I put it back together again, and it reduced it down to like 2.5 meg. But when I was doing my research online for the Philco part number, which was I think 33-5010 if I remember correctly, it was showing, the only one I could find was from like 1939, which this radio is a 33, but was from 1939. It showed it to be a 350,000 ohm pot. Well, I had that other 54C here that I had looked at early on, but it wasn't the same exact as what mine was, so it wasn't a whole lot of help, but it did have the same part number pot in it. So I had taken that out and tested it, and it tested it, I think it was 268K, but it was pretty consistent. And so I went, it had a broken on-off switch. So I went ahead and took it apart, cleaned it up, and swapped the on-off switch from my original 54 to it. So then I had a functioning pot. And I went ahead and put that on, and then I put it all back together again, and I turned it on, and it actually sounded pretty good. And so at that point I felt pretty confident, and I went ahead and finished realigning it, and it seemed like it was doing pretty good. And so at that point I shut it off, and the cabinet was ready, and so I decided to put it in the cabinet. Well, the cabinet itself wasn't that difficult to put in, but those decorative screws, they had no slots, right? They had no slots like screwdriver slots in order to put them in. I think they're made to push through, and they had like little knurls on the head end, and I think that the idea is you push them in and you screw a nut in. Well, on this radio that wasn't the way it worked. I mean, they screwed into inserts that were in the cabinet. So I had to shorten them. I had to shorten them by about an inch, and then I managed to, first I ran a tap through the insert in the cabinet just to make sure it was nice and clean, and I sprayed a little bit of WD-40 in there, and then I made it so I could screw them in pretty good. And then when I got really close to the cabinet, I like pushed the radio forward and managed to get it in almost as far as I could with just my fingernails and right there. And then when I let go of the radio, then it was tight. So all in all, it took me about an hour. This is after I cleaned the holes and cut them off and all. It took me about an hour to put those 3 inserts in. The one in the top middle was kind of a fake. There was nothing there, so I just put one in there. But it was a lot of work to get that in there. And so once I got it all in there and everything was all clean and I got it all cleaned up and everything, then I plugged it in and I turned it on, and there wasn't nothing there. I mean, obviously I had to wait for it to warm up about 20 seconds, but once I turned the volume up, then the volume was there, but it was just loud noise. So I started turning the dial and nothing was, it was just remaining the loud noise. And so at that point I'm like, what the heck's going on? And about that time, smoke starts pouring out the top of it through the vent holes. And I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? So I quick turned it off, I unplugged it, and I didn't have it going through my dim bulb because everything had been fine up to that point. But it just kept smoking and smoking like something was burning in there, and I knew I couldn't get it apart to see, so I just took it outside so it wouldn't set my smoke detector off. And I took it out there, and after a few minutes it quit smoking. And I went ahead and I was upset because I was like, man, all this work and it was perfect, and I stick it in there, and and then it smokes on me, and I was just like, I'm so over this. And I shouldn't have made the video when I did. I should have waited till I cooled off and the calm heads would prevail. I mean, I showed you the barbecue. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I entertained the idea of putting it in the barbecue. Not for very long. I didn't entertain it for very long, but I actually thought about it. So anyway, it didn't happen. But at that point, anybody's been watching my channel long enough, you guys know I'm kind of OCD about stuff. And when I'm the guy that walks to a house, and if a picture's not straight, I have to straighten it, and I can see if a stud's not straight. I mean, things like that just bother me. And so I'm like, when I work on something, I want it to work. And my wife's like, it looks really good, don't worry about it. I was like, no, I'm worried about it because that's not me. I can't do that. So anyway, we're getting ready to leave and go to North Carolina for the month of December with my daughter and granddaughter and son-in-law. And so when I get back from that, I'll go ahead and get it out of the case. I'm going to have to be really careful because, like I said, getting those screws in was so hard, and getting them back out without scratching the case of the front of the cabinet won't be easy. And I'll probably try and do some sort of blue non-sticky type tape on there so I don't risk scratching the front of the cabinet. But I'm thinking it should be kind of easy to figure out what happened, because it's kind of like the old, for those of you old enough to remember the old fuse boxes that had the household fuse boxes that had the screw-in fuses. The old joke was, when you blow a fuse, you can't figure out why you keep blowing the fuse. Put a penny in there and put the fuse back in, and then it'll burn up whatever the heck was causing the problem. You'll find out where the problem is. Kind of the same thing. When that thing went up in smoke, I'm assuming that whatever caused it, which I haven't got a clue, I blew everything out. I looked everything over before I put it in, just to make sure I didn't, when I was messing with the pot, get a piece of metal or solder or anything else into something. But obviously something happened. But I'm assuming that once I pull it apart, whatever burned will be obvious, and then I can either see why it burned or chase that circuit and figure out why it burned. So that's the plan. I might not do that right away. I am working on the 1929 Victor R32, and I may continue to work on that until I get to a stopping point, and then I might go ahead and do that as far as take the Philco back apart. So it's not over. As you saw in my video, once I had rendered it and started watching it and editing it, that I had softened up. It's not over till it's over, and it's not over yet. I got too much time and effort involved in it, and I'm not going to let it win. So that was what this flap was about. I apologize to my viewers that I lost a little bit on that one, and yeah, I felt like taking a baseball bat to it at that moment, but I didn't. I cooled down. So, although that might not have been a bad thing to watch, could have stuck it in the barbecue grill and watched it go up in smoke. Pulled the tubes out first, though. Nah, I wouldn't do that. I might get more viewers, though, if I did that. That might be fun. Maybe I should devote some videos to destroying some things that tick me off. I don't know. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Really, I'm just kidding. So the other purpose of this video is I don't know that once I'm in North Carolina, I won't be around the shop, so I won't have anything radio related, and I don't know if I'll make a video down there. I might make a quick Merry Christmas flap or something, but probably not. So I did want to take this opportunity during this flap to wish everybody a very happy holidays, a happy Thanksgiving for sure, and don't eat too much. And then if I don't talk to you before Christmas, have very happy holidays. Stay safe and stay healthy and stay free of COVID if at all possible. My daughter just called me a couple minutes ago, and my son-in-law's mother just called them and said that she had tested positive for COVID tonight. Now, the lady was just over at their house about 3 days ago, so now my daughter, and of course we're concerned too, now they've got to go get tested and make sure they're not positive, and I've got to figure that all out before I leave this weekend, which is what the plan was. Now, I'm pulling my camper, so depending upon how everything comes back, I may still go down there and stay in the camper until their quarantine has passed. I don't know. We don't know yet. It's up in the air now. I just found this out just before I started this video, so we're gonna figure it out. My wife and I have done a pretty good job keeping ourselves quarantined, and knock on wood, neither of us have gotten anything. We've been pretty healthy all year, as has my daughter and my granddaughter and son-in-law. So pray for my family that everybody stays free from COVID and that they don't get it. If they come back positive, I don't know that we're going to necessarily go. I just don't know. We have another appointment down there that's pretty important to my wife from a medical standpoint, so we still may have to go one way or another, and we may just have to quarantine away from them in the camper for the period of time, a couple weeks or whatever it is. I don't know. It's all up in the air. But anyway, again, sorry for the little rant on the radio, and I try not to do that, but sometimes my emotions get the best of me. I shouldn't let that happen, but I do. But anyway, again, I thank you for watching my channel. I hope that you'll recommend my channel to others and get me some more subscribers. I'm almost at 500 right now. I'm very close to 500, which I'm happy about, because at the end of last year I wasn't even at 200 yet, and I was hoping to grow this year, and so far I've done that. I went from barely 200 to almost 500 this year. So hopefully that'll keep increasing. Hoping I can keep producing some videos that are worth watching for you guys, not too boring, and I'll do the best I can, and we'll try and keep this halfway entertaining. So I'm going to cut this one short now. I probably went on way too long, but I did want to give you guys an explanation, and I did want to let you know what's going to happen, and I wanted to wish everybody a very happy holidays. So from Greg at Greg's Vintage Workshop, thanks for watching.